Hey y'all, and yes, I am back. It's Nadia. Today's story is one of those moments in life where multiple things happen at once, and the impact lasts longer than the moment itself. I want to tell you this calmly, clearly, and without dramatics, because sometimes trauma isn't just what happens in the moment, sometimes it's everything that happens after. So, look. I was 17, and on this particular day, I got to work extremely early, about 2 hours early to be exact. Now, most people would think being early is a good thing, right? Responsible, prepared, on top of things. So I decided to pass the time just for a while, like to clear my head. And you're probably thinking, child, you're 17. What do you possibly have to clear your head about? But why would I actually go in to work 2 hours early? What I'm gonna do? Sit there and watch the people walk by, talk to myself. So yeah, I took a little detour. Go take a little walk at the river walk or whatever as I wait for my shift to start. It was a normal day. Well, at least it felt normal to me anyway. Routine, nothing unusual, except the little conversation I had with the gentleman on the bus. I guess until it wasn't. So while walking, I moved through an area that became more isolated. Not something I overthought at the time, just passing through space, waiting for time to pass. But isolation changes things majorly. And sometimes situations shift before you even realize what's happening. There are moments in life where something occurs so fast, so unexpectedly, that your brain doesn't even have time to fully process it in real time. It just happens. And suddenly, your day is no longer normal. Well, mine wasn't that day anyway. What happened that morning was not something I planned, not something I invited, definitely not something I expected, but it definitely happened. And when it was over, I didn't fully process it as trauma yet. I processed it as shock, confusion, embarrassment, fear, really in my mind thinking, what the fuck just happened that fast? And more than anything, I wanted to move past it quickly, real quickly. I wanted to get back to normal, get to work, to act like everything was fine, but it wasn't. Because when you're young, you often don't stop to process. You push through and try to forget. Push it to the back of your mind. By the time I reached work, I was late. Probably sound weird because how you go from 2 hours early to late, but that ain't the kicker. Baby, this was actually one of the worst days in my life. I said that on purpose. In my life, one of the worst days of my life. Late on, a day I actually arrived early, don't make no sense. Late because something happened that I didn't have the language or emotional capacity to explain. Neither did I want to explain it. I was still confused. And instead of being asked what happened, instead of being supported, I lost my job. You heard right. got fired, and I was about to get a promotion that day. Get a little extra task and things. It wasn't a big promotion. I mean, come on, I was working at a movie theater and I was 17, but I was about to get a little extra assignment, I was about to move on up instead of just being a concession person, the sweep the flow person. I was about to be in that little booth selling them tickets, like having a relaxed shift. But instead, that laxed shift became unemployed, amongst other things. Yeah, so just like that, no understanding, no space to explain, no compassion for what had occurred, just consequence. Turn in your shirt, get off my property. Here's what people always, or should I say, don't always realize. Sometimes trauma isn't just the event, it's what happens after. The shame, the silence, the consequences, the lack of support. At 17, I didn't process that day as something done to me. I processed it as something that now made me look irresponsible, late. Now I'm fired and embarrassed. So now I'm carrying not just the experience itself, but the shame attached to it. And when shame attaches to trauma, it buries it deeper. You don't talk about it. You don't explain it. You don't process it. You just carry it. And look, this job, I was working with my cousin, and she could see all over my face something was wrong. Something was not normal. But because I was embarrassed and shocked and still confused about what the fuck just happened, I refused to discuss it. I just took my separation and went on to the bus stop and went my ass back home. And I carried that day quietly, not just what happened, but how everything unfolded after. Because when something traumatic happens and the world keeps moving like nothing happened at all, you start telling yourself to keep moving too. You minimize it, you bury it, you detach from it. But unprocessed experience don't disappear. They settle inside you and they show up later in ways you don't always connect back. Trust, safety, hyper awareness, emotional guardedness, all shaped by moments you never fully got to process. As a result, I can finally say this clearly. That day, I didn't just lose a job, I lost a sense of safety, a sense of normalcy, a sense of being protected by the world around me, my innocence. And for a long time, I carried the shame more than I carried the truth. But therapy, therapy has taught me something. What happened to you is not something you deserved. And the consequences that followed don't define your worth. Pick your head up, smile, get past it. It ain't your fault. And I'm finally processing it. Sometimes trauma isn't just what happens in the moment, it's what happens after. How people respond, how you're forced to keep going like nothing ever happened. and how you carry it quietly for years. Years. But tomorrow we're talking about what happens when shame settles. And you don't realize how much it shaped you. Stay with me. We definitely about to get to the good parts. We getting there. Again, this is week 3, day 3. See you tomorrow.